Hello friend, I am Chandrakant Thakkar and welcome back to my new learning series that is Reactjs. Nowadays most of the world are shifted to JavaScript based framework and React is one of them. So React is JavaScript based framework to create interactive web pages. Using HTML, CSS and JavaScript we can create interactive websites in React.js. It was introduced by Facebook and it is open source technology. There are many other advantages to use React.js in our project. In this tutorial, we will learn about JavaScript Basic concept to start with React. There are some prerequisites to start with this tutorial, like you should have little bit knowledge of JavaScript, you should have knowledge of CSS and you are comfortable with computer science technical terms. In this tutorial, we will focus on variable, arrow function, object and array, spread and rest operators, classes, callbacks, promises and async await. Let's start with variable. Variable is the name or storage where we can store the values. It is the identifier for the values that we can use later in our program. There is no any data type attached to the variable in JavaScript. In the JavaScript, we can assign any type of values to the variable, either numeric, string, object or array. In JavaScript, we can declare the variable using the let, where and const. So before ECMAScript 2015 released, using the where and const, we can declare the variable. But after ECMAScript 2015, we can use let keyword to declare the variable in JavaScript. So let's understand it by example. So here I have declared one variable my name with the value Chandrakant, and when I use the type of my name it will print the string, and another variable I have declared with the let keyword, and I have assigned the value 31 to my age variable, and when I type of my age it will print the number. So in the JavaScript the data type of the variable will be the value you assign to that variable. So in the first variable we have assigned the string value, so the data type of the my name will be the string, and in the second case we have assigned 31 as a number value to the my age variable, so data type of my age will be the number. So in the JavaScript the data type of variable will be the value you assign to the variable. Now just see the difference between the let and where. The main difference between the let and where will be the scoping rules. When we declare the variable using the where keyword, it have the function scope, and when we declare the variable using the let keyword, it have the block scope. Let's understand by the example. So here you can see that I have declared one variable using the where keyword, my name, and its value is Chandrakant, and I have declared another variable my city using the let keyword, it's the Gandhinagar, and I have consoled it both the variable. So it will print the Chandrakant and Gandhinagar. Now inside the block I have declared two variable, my native and my nickname. So here when I console inside the block I can receive both the values Rajasthan and Chintu. So in after this block I have console this both the value. So for first value it is declared, this my native variable is declared with the variable keyword where keyword, so its scope is the functional scope. We can use this variable inside this entire function. So here you can get the Rajasthan, but for this my nickname we have declared it using the let keyword, so its scope is the block scope, so you cannot access this variable outside to this block. So here you will get the reference error. So this is the main difference between the let and where keyword, that scoping rules. Now the another difference between the let and where is a redeclaration. Let's understand by the example. So here I have used the same code as the previous one. I have declared one variable my name with the value Chandrakant and my city using the let keyword with the value Gandhinagar. So here when I use the same variable my city with the let keyword and I assign the value Ahmedabad, so it will raise the error because you cannot redeclare the variable using the let keyword. Now for the myname variable, if I will again declare the myname variable with the different value, it will not raise any error. So for the late you cannot redeclare it, and for the where you can redeclare the variable again and again in JavaScript. So this is the two difference between the late and where. First one is the scope rule and second one is the redeclaration. Const keyword. So you can declare the variable in JavaScript using the const keyword. The only difference is when you declare the variable using the const, you cannot change the value of that variable during the execution of the program. You can only assign its value at the time of declaration. So here I have declared one variable pi with the value 3.14. When you use type of pi, it will be the number. So this is another way that you can use const keyword to declare the variable. Now let's see the arrow function. So arrow function were introduced in ECMAScript 6 in ECMAScript 2015. So in the JavaScript we can declare the variable using this both two notation. So before ECMAScript 6 was released. So in these two notation we are providing function name, and here we are writing the function body. In the second notation we are declaring the function as the variable. So this is the const function name is one variable, and we are assigning function to this variable. Now in arrow notation there is only slight difference. You can see that after equal to they have removed the function keyword, and after parenthesis they have used the arrow equal to and greater than. So this is the way that you can declare the function in JavaScript. Now there is a three different way to declare function in JavaScript. All three are supported in JavaScript. Now let's see the object and array. So object is the variable which contain the pair of key and values. So in the example you can see I have declared one variable data which have list of keys and values are available. So here first, second, third, fourth are the keys of this object, and 1, 2, 3, 4 are the values for that keys. Now to access these keys in the object we need to use this dot operator. So here I have used data dot first, so it will print 1. When I use data dot third, it will give me the value 3. So by this way you can use the object in JavaScript. Now the array. So array is the collection of multiple values. So in JavaScript there is no any restriction that array can have only same data type value. So here in the example you can see I have declared one variable data with the multiple values. So here I have used the string value, numeric value and the boolean value. To access this value inside the array you need to use the index. So index will start from 0 to length -1. So if I want to access this Chandrakant, I need to use data of 0. When I will write data of 5, it will give me the value of available in the 5th index. Now let's understand the spread and rest operator in JavaScript. So we can expand an array, object or a string using the spread operator triple dot. Now let's understand it by example. So here you can see that I have declared two array variable, first and second. Now in the third others variable I have combined first using the spread operator, second using the spread operator, and this third array have its own value 7 and 8. So when you will print this others variable, it will print the output first to 8, means it will combine first, second and also other have some its own value. It will combine all these three into one. So this is the use of spread operator in array. Now same way you can use spread operator in the object also. So here in the example you can see I have declared first object with the value 1, second object with the value 2, and I am combining these two into others object. So here using the spread operator I have used the first, second, and for others it's have its own array as a value. So when you print this others object, so it have the now 3 key, first, second and others. So by this way you can combine the two different object into one using the spread operator. Now same way this spread operator we can use in the string. So here I have declared one variable with the string value as a Chandrakant, and I am using declaring one another variable data with this spread operator, and I am assigning this value my name to this data variable using spread. So it will create the array of character using the spread operator. So this is the way that how can we use a spread operator in JavaScript. Now let's understand the rest operator. So the rest operator is useful when working with array and object destructuring. So let's understand by example. So here in this example I have created one array with the value 1 to 8. Now I am creating three different variables using the one array using the rest operator. So see here I have declared one variable first, second, and using the rest operator I want to give the others value to others variable. So when I assign this data variable to these three variable, so it will assign one value to the first variable, two value to the second variable, and the rest value will be assigned as an array to the others variable. So by this way we can use the rest operator for destructuring of array. The same way we can use the rest operator for the object. So here I have declared the one object with this key and values. So here I want to now extract these values into three different variables. So here you can see that inside the parenthesis I have declared first, second, and using the rest operator I have declared one others variable. So when I assign this data value to these three variable, so it will assign one value to the first variable, two value to the second, and for others it will assign the object, because the rest of the value will be assigned to the last variable which have the triple dot rest operator. So by this way we can use the spread and rest operator in JavaScript. Now let's understand the class. So in the JavaScript we can declare the classes and later we can declare the object of that classes to use in our program. So in JavaScript in 2015 the classes were introduced. So class is nothing but the collection of props and methods into the single unit. It means class contains the list of variable and the function that we can use later in our program. So this class is a identifier that we can use to declare the object. Now let's understand it by example. So here I am declaring one class with the name my collection. Inside the class we have the constructor. So here you can see this is the constructor. It will take the one argument as a string and it will assign this string value to this name variable. Now I have declared one print method inside the class. So the task of this print method is just it will print the collection name, whatever collection name I will assign through the object. So here this is the way to declare the object of this class. So video collection is my one variable. Using the new and constructor means the class name, we are declaring the object of this class. Inside that I am passing the video. This is my string value that constructor expect. So here when I declare this object, it will assign this video value to this name variable. It means that my collection name will be the video. Now if we want to access this print method using the object, using the object and dot print method, you can call this method. So it will print hello, this is my video collection. By this way you can call any number of methods, means using the object and dot notation you can call any number of method of your class. So this is the way that you can declare the class and use the class in JavaScript. Let's check the callback. So before starting callback, you should have idea about the synchronous and asynchronous behavior. So JavaScript by default it is synchronous. So it have only one single thread to execute our program. So synchronous means that the things can happen in sequence. Code will be executed line by line, one after another. So in the JavaScript we cannot have multiple thread to perform multiple tasks at the same time. Asynchronous means that all the things happens independently of the main program flow. It means we can perform multiple tasks at the same time. Now let's understand by example. So here this is the way that JavaScript is working. So in this program means all the code will be executed line by line. First it will declare the variable, then it will perform the console.log. So this is the way that JavaScript works. Now let's see the another example. Now to implement asynchronous behavior in JavaScript, we are using the callback. So callback is nothing but simple function that is passed as a value to another function. So, and when the execution of that function will be over or any event occur, at that time this callback function will be called. So callback is nothing but we are passing function as an argument to another function. So here let's understand by example. So here you can see I have declared one variable. So when JavaScript execution is started, it will declare execute first this line. Then after we have bind one click event on this button. Okay, and inside that we have just console this line. Then after we have wrote this console.log. Okay, so here what happens, this is called as the callback. This function inside the click event, it is called as the callback. So when the event occur, when user click on this button, at that time this line of code will be executed. Otherwise you will receive only when you execute this program, you only get this two console output. When user click on this click button, at that time this console log will be printed. So this is one way that we are using the callback in JavaScript. Now let's see another example. So in the Node.js, how we are using the callbacks. So suppose I want to read the data from file and want to perform some operation on that data. Okay, so here I am declaring one variable read data from file. Here this function will take two argument, function name, file name and the callback. So as I talk, callback is nothing but one function that we are passing as the argument. So here you can see this is the function that I am passing as an argument to this read data from file function. So what is the task of this read data from file? It will take file name, it will read the content of the file, and it will provide the callback, means output of this file to the calling function. So here by this way we are calling this function. I am passing the file name, and in the callback I am printing the data of this file. So by this way, when you will execute this code, it will read the data from file, this callback function will be called, and this callback function will print the data in your console. So now let's understand callback hell. So callback hell is the situation where you are writing multiple callback inside one callback. So let's see it's one by one example. So here I have declared the same function that we have declared in the previous one. So here we are reading the data from the file, and this function will return the content of that file. Here these two functions I have just created for demo purpose. There might be multiple line of code available in this function. So all these three functions are taking callback as its argument. Now when this line of code will be executed, it will pass the file name, it will this function will return the content of the file. Now inside this callback we are calling another function, and this function have the callback as argument. Now inside this callback function we are also using the another callback. So this is the situation called the callback hell. So in callback hell, there it will increase your complexity. Also your program is not more readable, and for debugging purpose it not means useful. It will take some time to debug your program and find out the error. So this is the situation called the callback hell. Now to overcome callback hell situation, we have promise and async await library available in JavaScript. So promise are one way to deal with asynchronous code without writing too many callback in your code. Async function use the promise API as their building blocks. So here using the callback hell, we check that we have so many problem available in our code. So using the async await and promise technology, we can reduce the number of line of code, we can increase the readability of your program, and it will reduce the complexity, and also it will help in debugging your code whenever there is any error raised in your program. Now let's understand it by example. So here I have just converted read data from file function into the async await. So whatever code we have written in read data from file in the previous example, that I have wrapped inside this new promise. So this is the syntax to write down the code inside the new promise. So return new promise, in that we have two parameters, resolve and reject. So whenever you want to return something from this promise, you need to use the resolve. It means that there is no any error, but during the execution of your program you might get some error. At that time you need to reject the promise, so it will raise the error. Now to call this promise function, read data from file function, we need to use the await. Now in JavaScript there is a rule that to call the await, it must be called inside the async function. So that's why I have created read data is one async function. Inside that I have called the read data from file function. So now this read data function we can call directly. Inside that we have written that we have declared one variable. Now we are reading data from this file, then we are consoling this data of the file, then we are consoling the content of this variable. So by this way it will increase the readability of your program. There is no any callback available, and the code will be executed line by line. Here await from await, it will stop the execution of program and will wait until your promise will either reject or resolve. And by this way you can means increase your readability of your program. You can reduce the complexity, and also it will also helpful in debugging your program. Now let's see with one side by side example. So on the left side, as we discussed previously, this is the example of the callback. So here you can see that we have the multiple callback available inside the callback. So this is the situation of callback hell. So it is not more readable, it will increase the complexity, and debugging is also complex. So on the right side we have created the example using the async await. So here you can see that we have declared the three function using the promise, and for calling this function we need to create the async function. So inside that you can see that we have written all the code one by one, and it will also increase the readability of your program. Also debugging is easily possible if there is any error, and complexity is also reduced. So this is the side by side example of callback and async await. Now after this tutorial you can perform the exercise that will be helpful for understanding the JavaScript concept. So here I have provided exercise 1. For that you can create one function to check the validation on the name, email, contact number, address, password. It means that you can create simple HTML form. Inside that you can create the registration form, and you will take some values from the user like name, email, address, contact number, user address and password. So this is the first exercise that you can do, and for the second exercise you can create one program that will read some data from the file and perform some mathematical operation. So you can do this program using the simple callback and using the async await. So you can get the better idea about the async await and callback APIs in JavaScript. So here in second exercise you can take different for files. In first file we have the 10 as a input. In the second file 20 is written. For the third file 10 is written, and for the div.txt we have the 100 written in that file. So now as for this, first read the data from input.txt, sum that data with the sum.txt file, then answer should be multiplied by mul.txt file, then whatever answer is available it should be divided by the data available in div.txt file. So by this way your final answer should be the 3. So thank you friend for watching this video. If you like this, please like, subscribe and share this video. I have also created interesting tutorial on D3. If you like D3, please check out my playlist. Thank you very much.